This week, we are going to go back to the classic quilt patterns, the Kansas City store classic quilt patterns, motifs, and designs. I chose the block for this month. It actually said it was a border block, but when I put it in my EQ8 program, I really loved the way it looked. So I blew it up and I'm going to use it as a block box. So this was from June of 29. It says, here is a border pattern which may be used for any quilt. It is called the ribbon border block because our grandmothers pieced it of ribbons on a background of changeable silk and considered it the finest of borders. The modern quilt maker may use it in many different patterns using the prevailing color of the quilt in the large pointed border in the complementary color in the three small colored blocks. Make the background either white or any color which your particular quilt calls for by its pattern. The Stars quilt fan may find this border useful in making a striped quilt. Piece several long strips of the border design and set them together with plain strips the same width and length. Any experienced quilt maker will find uses for a border pattern. So I went off of this pattern here. I simplified it though, but I did choose to do the colorations light in the background. I chose kind of a goldy, rusty color for these points, and then this I'm using a teal. See, it shows it set in a border, but that's not what we're going to do. So here's my block finished. And we're going to just make 20 of these blocks. Now they finish right around 12 and a quarter to 12 and a half. I'll just make them all and see how they come out, and then in the end we'll determine where to trim them to. But here's my first one done. Now what I chose to do is I chose this teal for all the points, and I surrounded the points with this fabric. I just love the tone and the feel of this fabric. It is directional. I did not pay attention to the direction. You'll notice some trees are upside down. I do not care because I think in the grand scheme of things, you're not going to really notice that. Okay, so that's that. Now, around the more rust colors, I chose to go with this. And there's a reason. To be honest, I just didn't have enough of this. So I had to choose something else. This I felt complemented it well enough. I'm trying to bust my stash. Now I'm going to make mine using a process of making 8 half square triangles at a time. You may choose to do yours different. You may want to do 2 at a time or 4 at a time or whatever you're comfortable at, 1 at a time. But instead of making this piece here and trying to piece all that together, you know, a lot of these patterns were hand pieced, and that's why they're easy to hand piece, but they're not so easy to machine piece. You have to think about it. So what I've done is I've broken it down into squares and half square triangles. So let's look at it. This block requires 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teal and background half square triangles. It requires 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm using rust. You can use whatever you want, and you may choose not to do a half square triangle there. You may just want yours to be points. So you might just be cutting 4 blocks, but if so, you need 4 half square triangles. Then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 solid triangles. Now what I chose for my base is 3.5-inch squares. It gives me a nice size block, and it'll finish up well. But if you have jelly rolls or charm squares or whatever you have, just make the adjustment with what you have and do it that way. That's what I'd do if I had it. But in order to make it this size, I used 8.5-inch squares. Okay. And each 8.5-inch square is going to yield 8 half square triangles. So for this quilt, I needed 20 teal because I have 20 blocks and I need 8 per block. And I needed 20 of a background to go with this. So I chose this one. And these two are going to be together. And that'll make us all the teal half square triangles for this entire block. Now on this one, I need 10 half square, 10 background blocks because it will yield 8, but we only have to use 4 per block. So one sewing will yield 2 blocks. So as far as my rust goes, I chose a slight variety of colors because, to be honest, I didn't have enough of anything in my stash to do all of them the same. I chose stuff that was tonally the same. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a little preparation here. So this will be a lot of chain piecing, cutting, and trimming, and you can do it all in bulk. You don't have to do every block individually. I just did the one so that I could share it with you. So what we're going to do, oh, also, you're going to need 80 3.5-inch solid squares in the teal color. You're also going to need that, so you can just cut those. So what we're going to do is every light colored square, we are going to draw a diagonal line from one corner to the next. Now, it doesn't really matter what you use to draw your diagonal line because you're going to be cutting on this diagonal line. So I just draw it. Okay, so I'm going to do that to every single light colored square. Then, once I do all of them, I will be matching up a dark to a light color, right sides together. So 1/4 inch away from this center line. I'm just doing this. This is a heat erasable marker I'm using here. And it's just going to kind of go along here. It doesn't matter which side you do first or which diagonal you do first, but that is the goal of this thing. So I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch down this way, turn it around, 1/4 inch this way, and I can chain piece all one direction. When I get that done, then I'll turn it this way, which it'll be straight because it'll be sewn together. And I'll do one side and then turn it around and do all the other sides. And then once we get all that done, we'll come back over here and we'll cut them apart and trim them. Now that's going to take a little more time, the cutting and the trimming, because that is 8 triangles and they will need to be trimmed to a correct size, because doing it this way, it gives you a little fudge room on every triangle so that you can make an adjustment if you need to. Okay, so I'm going to sit here and draw all my diagonal lines, and then I'm going to meet you at the sewing machine, and I'm just going to show you how to sew a couple. Okay, so I have drawn all the lines, diagonal lines, on all of my light colored fabrics, both for the rust color and for the teal color. Now I've already sewn the teal color, if you can see that. I know I did it. Oh, well, if I flip it over, you can see. No, not really. Anyway, so these are finished. We'll take these over and get them cut in a few minutes, but I want to show you how to do this. So, what I did first, sorry, let me throw that in the garbage, was I took and I pinned them because I didn't want them slipping all over the place as I sewed at least the first line. Once I get the first line established, I won't need to do anything else, okay? I can remove the pins. So it doesn't matter where you start, just choose one line, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch to the outside of this line. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to use my 1/4 inch foot. Now my 1/4 inch foot has a guide on it, and I'm going to run that guide along that drawn line, and it'll create a 1/4 inch seam away from that line. And guys, that's it. We're going to go down one side all the way. We'll turn around. We'll do the other side. We'll cut it off. We'll do down this side, turn it around, and do down the other side. I'm going to get started here, and I'm not going to do them all. I'm just going to do a couple on camera because it's simple basics, and most of you have seen all this done in the past anyway. At this point, I'll go ahead and remove these 2 pins. And we're just going to do one more. But when you do it, just chain piece the whole lot of them if you like chain piecing. We're just going to clip them apart now. We're going to do the opposite diagonal line. We'll cut those apart. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of my stack, and then I will meet y'all over at the cutting mat. Okay, so we're going to trim these blocks into 8 half square triangles now. So my blocks were originally cut 8.5 inches. Half of that is 4 1/4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 4 1/4 mark on my ruler, line it up with the outside of my block. That'll put me right down the middle, and I'm going to cut this block straight down the middle. Now, if you would want to draw these lines when you draw the original lines, you are very welcome to. I just feel that it's a waste of time to do that, so I'm just going to line my mark up and cut. Now, the way we design these, we will have extra room to trim with, so we will have room to straighten it out if it's a little off. All right, then we will cut on the line that we actually drew, going in both directions. I'm sorry for the roar in the background. We've got rain today and a little thunder, and Cupcake is not liking it. Okay, so we're going to take these 8 half square triangles. We're going to stack them up. Now I'm going to keep mine separate. I'm going to keep my teal ones in one stack, and I'm going to keep my background and rust colored ones in a separate stack, which I have already cut, and they're here. I also took the time to kind of sort through and mix them up a little bit so that when I lay them out in my design, they won't all be the same fabric right next to each other. Now our next step is going to be to square these blocks into 3.5-inch squares. So there's several ways to do this. First, if you have a block lock and you know how to use it, use it. I have one. I don't like it. I don't know, for some reason it doesn't work for me. So I'm not going to show that because it'll take forever for me to figure out how to show you. But if you would happen to have a clearly perfect slotted trimmer, the A with the 3.5-inch, you would take this slotted line here, this little dash line, and you're going to line that up over the line that you drew, and you're going to trim it off on both sides. Now it has these little slots in here, and you're supposed to be able to put your ruler in there and trim it. I just find it's a little tight, and I'm always nicking my blade when I do that, and I don't want to nick my blade. So I just pick mine up, and of course I removed my scissors from my reach. I grab me a pair of scissors, and I just nip it like that towards the corner, towards the inside. And when I open this up, it will be without the dog ears. Okay? So that's one way to do it. Let's do one more like that, just so you catch it if you want to. Use this. Maybe if we use this side, you can see a little better. Okay. Just right at that sewn line. Make sure you're not below it. If you're below that sewn line, you're going to be short. Okay. And then again, I just nip it and nip it. And there you go. Okay, that's one way to do it. Let's get that off there. Now the next way to do this is just using a ruler. I'm going to use this one. So I'm looking for 3.5 inches. I'm going to take the 45-degree line running down the middle of my ruler, and you're going to need a ruler with a 45-degree line to do that. And I'm going to line that 45-degree line up on this sewn line, the line that joins the two edges. And I'm just going to trim off one side. I'm just trimming off a little bit to square it up. Not worried about accuracy on the first cut. Then I'm going to turn that block around, and I'm going to realign it. Only this time I'm going to make sure that I'm on the 3.5-inch measurement, and that my 45-degree line is running up that sewn line. Once I have that, I can trim off the excess, and now I have a 3.5-inch half square triangle. So you can do it either way. Let's do one more. We'll do one of these colors. Really doesn't make any difference. Just line that up with the trim line, with the sewn line, sorry. And we're gonna trim off the excess. Turn this around, realign it with the 3.5-inch mark, right up that center. And there you go. So either way works. Just depends on what you want to do, okay? Let me press this one real quick. So there you go. That one's that one. And that's all there is really to it. So you'll need to spend some time now cutting all of your blocks apart, trimming them to 3.5 inches. Once you have that done, set all this on the side, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out my blocks and I'm just going to stack them up one on top of the other. I've made one, so I have 19 blocks that I will be stacking 19 high. Okay guys, so I have all the blocks cut, trimmed to 3.5 inches and set in the formation of the block. Okay, so this is the way it needs to be sewed in order to make the block the way we want it. I just have it stacked as deep as the amount of blocks I'm going to make. I had 20 blocks, so therefore mine would be 20 thick. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to sew rows. I'm going to sew this row together, and then I'm going to sew this row together, and then I'm going to sew it together in the middle. And then after that, I will take it and turn it into a block. I'm going to do one at a time because I know me. If I try to do all this and then all this, I will be so mixed up. I won't know what to do. Once we get all this done, then we will go to the board and I will show you many different ways this block can be arranged in order to get several different looks with it. All right, so I'm just going to get started sewing here. So if you have any questions and you're thinking about, did I flip something? Did I do something wrong? Just look back at your board and see so you don't make any mistakes. I'm just going to line this up on the corner here. I had a leader. Let's go ahead and use our little leader just because. And just going to get it started. Once I get it started, see if I can't back this up a little bit more. Oh, it's going to let me back it up. Once I get it started, I'm going to reach down here and these two should nest perfectly. And I'm just feeling it with my fingers, making sure that it nests quite a ways in. Once I feel that it's nested, you can feel it. It kind of snaps in, it goes flat. Then I'm just going to hold it and sew. Okay. I'm going to cut this off in 2 groups of 4. That'll be one side and then the other. 1, 2, 3, 4. And get this back over here. Now guys, I will say, I'm going to put the measurements that I used on the fabric in the comments below. Is we're going to sew this line here. Okay, now I don't normally leave mine snatched together. I know most people do. For some reason, I just have an issue with that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut mine apart to sew that last line. That's just the way I do it. So when you look here, these 2 seams, this one and this one, are pressed in the same direction. So this is what I do. I lay my 2 seams on top of each other like this, okay? Get my corner straight first. Let me get the corner straight. Put it right on there where I want it. Then I run my finger along here. I don't know if you can really see that in the camera, but it makes like a little ridge, okay? And that's where those two seams are gonna cross. And I'm gonna hold that good and tight. Now this one's gonna be a little tricky just because it's the beginning of the square and it's kind of bulky. But we're just gonna go real slow. And it doesn't wanna walk, so let's see if we can pull on it a hair. Okay, now I'm past that meat there. So I'm just going to finish this out. And we're going to have to do that 3 times. But this one's going to be a little easier because it's at the bottom. Now we're back over here. So I know we didn't look at these earlier, but that's really good points there. That's not too bad. You know, I mean, they could look better. That one's obviously, these tops are good. That one's right on it right here. So I'm not going to be concerned about just a little hair off here there, because by the time you get through sewing all these together, you're not going to see any of that. So guys, I like to press mine. I know most people don't. I get that. But I'm a presser. So I'm going to run to my big ironing board, press these, and then I'll be back and we'll be finished making this block. Here's our block all laid out. I pressed the top row in that direction, this direction, that direction, this direction, so they'll nest when I put them together. I'm just going to take the whole thing and turn it sideways. And I'll sew these two, and then these two, and then we'll sew this together last. And that's it, guys. It's a quick, simple block once you get all the prep work done. Okay, again, we're just going to nest the seams. Get the top all lined up. They should nest really good. As I'm sewing along here, I'm going to put a dot here so y'all can see this with a heat erasable pen. I'm going to try to cross right here where those seams cross. Okay, I like to realign mine every time just to make sure that I don't have anything upside down, because I hate picking it out because I sewed something on backwards. So let's see, that middle did really good. That's not too bad. I mean, I'm pulling it apart. I think those looked pretty good. That was not great. Can you see that? Okay. And then this one, yeah, so. But that's okay. I think in the grand scheme of things, you won't be able to tell any of that. So now we're going to sew this line together. And when we do this line, we don't have anything but just regular nesting seams. And then we have right here where we'll try to make it cross at the right point. So guys, it's really not a complicated block to put together. Just half square triangles and triangles. It's just the arrangement of them to make the V point. So that's not bad. That point's really good. And that's really good. If you want one point to match, I think this is probably the most important one because your eye will be coming there. But this quilt's going to be a little busy with all the zigzags. So I don't think your eye will be drawn to these tiny little seams. But anyway, guys, I'm just going to get this pressed, put up on the board, and I'm going to keep going. I've still got 17 to go. And hopefully by tomorrow morning, I'll be ready to show you all the different configurations of the quilt, and then I'll choose one and sew mine together. Well, here's the version that I settled on. I decided to go with this because I like the chevron look, but I like to have a secondary pattern show up. So I thought this would be appropriate. I haven't chosen borders because I don't have enough rust and or a teal this shade to work with. I don't have enough of it. So I really feel like it needs a small rust border and then a larger teal border on the outside of that. Well, guys, I sure hope y'all enjoyed this week. I enjoyed making it. I'm happy with it. I don't think it's too complicated. It's a lot of pieces, but not real complicated. So you can find the information below on the size that I made. You could adjust it, the pattern, according to the blocks you make or according to the fabric that you have available. Most of my points met pretty good. I got a few places that's maybe not as good as others, but it is so busy that you just really don't even notice them. It's a little bit bigger quilt than I normally make. I normally don't make anything quite this large, but I like it. I think it'll be nice for the winter up here in Missouri. If I ever get around to quilting any of these. So anyway, I want to thank y'all all for subscribing, leaving comments, giving me a thumbs up. I'm still around 2,100 viewers subscribed, and I really appreciate that. I've been told that's pretty good for someone that's not even a year old yet. So if any of you are out there and you're enjoying it and you haven't subscribed yet, if you wouldn't mind taking a couple minutes and hitting that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. So until I see y'all next week, remember to always be yourself. Have a great, blessed week. And I'll see you then. Bye.